Hello all, hope you're doing well today. Hey, we are finishing up chapter 4 and strategic planning. We're talking about budgeting today, and this is part 4. Here we go. So our objectives are really to grasp the importance of budgeting and the types of budgets a facility manager may use when creating that strategic plan. A budget is a financial plan that outlines expected revenues, which is income, and expenses, the costs for a facility or event. The purpose is for forecasting, predicting future financial performance, as well as monitoring operations, so tracking profitability and financial stability, and decision making. It's a guided resource allocation and cost management. The components of a budget should include, of course, your revenues, your ticket sales, your sponsorships, concessions and merchandise, as well as grants and donations. Expenses would include staffing and payroll, facility maintenance and utilities, marketing and promotions, equipment and supplies. For example, in a basketball tournament, revenues come from ticket and merchandise sales, while expenses cover referee fees and court rentals and marketing. Effective financial allocation is crucial for organizational success. It's important that it aligns with the mission and values of the organization. Your funds should support the initiatives that reflect the organization's purpose. It's also important for efficient resource use. So you want to prioritize spending for maximum impact and accountability. You're ensuring transparency in financial decisions. A sports complex focused on community wellness may invest more in fitness programs and youth activities rather than luxury amenities. Budgets must be actively monitored to maintain financial health. And again, they should reflect an organization's mission, vision, and philosophy. To do that, you have to define priorities. So identify critical programs and areas. You want to engage the stakeholders, so collaborate with staff, sponsors, and community members. And then evaluate impact. Measure how spending supports objectives. A youth sports center promoting inclusivity might prioritize funding for adaptive equipment and scholarships for underprivileged children. There are, of course, challenges in budgeting. It comes with obstacles such as uncertain revenue streams. Your ticket sales and sponsorships may fluctuate, rising cost, inflation, or unexpected repairs that constrain finances, and balancing priorities, so allocating limited resources effectively. Your strategies to overcome that would be to maintain a contingency fund and prepare for unexpected costs, and diversify revenue streams, so reducing reliance on a single income source, and using historical data, so making informed financial projections. A well-prepared budget integrates sound business judgment with a thorough review of historical trends and relevant data. What is smart budgeting? Smart budgeting goes beyond numbers. It ensures resources are allocated strategically to achieve organizational goals while maintaining financial health. It combines business acumen with data analysis and ensures transparency and accountability, and supports proactive decision making. So a sports facility might use past attendance data to forecast ticket sales for upcoming events, ensuring accurate revenue predictions. To create a successful budget, you want to adhere to these core principles. It should be realistic and quantifiable. So it should be based upon achievable assumptions and measurable figures. You want to avoid overly optimistic or vague estimates. So a forecast ticket sales based on average attendance from previous years, adjusted for current trends. Historical. Use past financial data to guide future projections and analyze trends, seasonality, and recurring expenses. So you want to review utility costs during peak seasons to help prepare for higher energy usage. Period specific. It means that budgets should align with specific timeframes such as fiscal years or event cycles, and include timelines for revenue generation and expense allocation. So an event budget might allocate marketing expenses in the months leading up to the event with revenue expected post-event. It should be standardized, so use consistent formats and methods to facilitate comparison and evaluation, and ensure all departments follow the same budgeting templates. A standardized template might include categories like revenues and fixed costs and variable costs. Finally, it should be inclusive. And so you want to engage all relevant stakeholders in the budgeting process. Encourage input from departments and teams directly involved in revenue generation or expenditure. So you consult marketing and operations teams when budgeting for a major event, ensuring all perspectives are considered. So successful evaluation is regularly reviewing the budget to assess its accuracy and its effectiveness, and identifying variances and adjustments and adjust as needed. So monthly reviews can help detect overspending early, allowing for timely corrections. And officially accepted and circulated. The finalized budget must be approved by management and shared with all relevant parties. Ensure everyone understands their financial responsibilities. Circulate the budget to all departments, ensuring alignment and accountability. So smart budgeting doesn't end with creation. It requires ongoing management and refinement. And so conducting regular performance reviews to ensure targets are made. Steps for budget development and management really requires examining the organization's present mission, objectives, and goals. So you align the budget process with the organization's mission and strategic goals, and review how the budget supported or fell short of objectives in the previous year. Collect necessary information, so identifying organizational needs, strengths, and available resources, and gather data from internal records, external benchmarks, and industry trends. Solicit input from experts, and so engage knowledgeable stakeholders to ensure accurate data collection and informed evaluations, and consult financial experts, program managers, and departmental leads. You want to review and analyze data, compare past performance, current requirements, and short-term future needs, and identify gaps, inefficiencies, or opportunities for improvement. And then prepare the budget document. Develop the document following organizational or governing body guidelines and include necessary adjustments, assumptions, and supporting data. Ensure accuracy and feasibility. So validate the budget's numbers to confirm alignment with realistic projections, and test scenarios to ensure the budget remains feasible under varying conditions. Submit a draft for feedback. So it's important for your colleagues or experts to get to critique and improve and provide improvement for the budget, and incorporate that feedback to refine the budget. And then prepare for the formal presentation. Anticipate questions or challenges from the board or administration, and prepare supporting evidence and contingency plans to address concerns. And then implement the approved budget. Roll it out with clear communication to all stakeholders. Maintain flexibility to adjust for unforeseen events or changes, and audit the budget. Conduct a post-year review to evaluate financial performance and adherence. Use insights to improve future budgeting processes and enhance fiscal management skills. Let's start by differentiating between fixed and variable costs. Fixed costs remain constant regardless of the output or activity level. For example, facility rent or capital replacement fees or insurance premiums. Variable costs are costs that fluctuate based on the output or level of activity. For example, event-specific labor or game day expenses like concessions, marketing and promotional activities tied to ticket sales. For example, a stadium's rent is fixed, will remain the same whether 1 or 10 games are played, but staffing costs for ushers and vendors is variable and will increase with more events. Managing a sport facility or event involves various expense categories. Here are some typical ones. Facilities, which is rent or capital replacement fees and facility usage fees. Commissions from ticket sales. Your labor costs are staffing for event operations, which includes security and custodial services. Your player and game expenses. This is your athletes' wages, the equipment, and game officials' fees. The event operations, which is setup, tear down, and logistics management. Marketing and promotions, those are your advertising campaigns, social media promotions, and sponsorship fulfillment. And guest management and hospitality, so your VIP accommodations and catering and guest services. and event presentations, so halftime shows, video feeds, highlights, and special lighting effects. Capital investment and amortization are your long-term investments in infrastructure and their depreciation costs. And then your contingency expenses. So these are emergency or unforeseen costs. So let's talk about where the money comes from. Revenue streams are diverse and can vary depending on the type of event. Typically, that's ticket sales. So primary income for most, that's the primary income for most events. Your pricing strategies influence attendance and revenue. Your rent income comes from leasing facilities to other organizations or events. And then media rights. These are broadcasting rights that are sold to networks or streaming platforms, and sponsorships and advertising. So revenue from companies seeking brand exposure through the event. And tournament fees. These are entry fees collected from teams or participants, and grant donations. This would be support from government agencies or private donors. So a major soccer tournament might earn revenue from ticket sales, sponsorships, and deals with beverage companies, and broadcast rights sold to sports networks. Now, if we talk about to maximize profitability and sustainability, it's crucial to balance your costs and revenues. Some tips for managing costs would be to regularly review your fixed costs to identify potential savings and optimize variable costs by improving efficiency using technology for ticket sales. Some tips for boosting revenue are diversify revenue streams by exploring sponsorships or hosting multiple types of events and using dynamic pricing strategies to maximize your ticket sales based upon demand. So this image here looks at the relationship of typical budget components in the master budget. And so your master budget includes your operating budget as well as your financial budget. So the operating budget is development and research, it's design, and the sales budget. The sales budget forms the foundation of the master budget as it forecasts revenues and guides your production or event planning. And then the production budget, which is more of event budget for event planning. And it's informed by the sales forecast, as well as it includes direct materials, labor, and overhead costs. Your marketing and your direct labor, so quantifying the raw materials and workforce required to meet production or event needs. And then overhead and administrative budgets. So that addresses the operational costs like utilities, rent, marketing, and administrative expenses, and distribution and customer service. That's your operating budget. Your financial budget looks at your capital expenditure budget. So your building campaigns, if you will, your remodeling, things along that line. Your cash budget, and so how much cash you have on hand, and your budgeted income statement, as well as the balance sheet. So you aggregate all operational budgets to provide insights into cash flow and funding needs and financial performance. And it provides a feedback loop. So the variance analysis ensures alignment between planned and actual performance, informing revisions to the master budget. So as we've been discussing, budgeting is a crucial financial management tool that helps organizations allocate resources effectively. There are various budgeting methods that exist, and so each serves its different purpose. So we're going to talk a little bit about that here in the next few slides. The line item budget is a structured financial plan that organizes a team's expenses and revenues into specific categories or line items. A line item budget offers several advantages from managing finances effectively. It categorizes expenses and revenues, and each item is assigned a specific budget category. It enables year-over-year financial analysis, and it ensures funds are allocated and spent wisely and can be adjusted as financial needs evolve. This is an example of a line item budget. On the left side, you can see your revenue sources. So you can see ticket sales and your sponsorships, as well as your merchandise sales, and what the budgeted amount is, what the actual amount is, and the variance between those two. On the right-hand side, you see your expenses, your salaries and wages, facility maintenance, security. And again, you see the budgeted amount, the actual amount, and you see in salaries and wages, they're like $5,000 over on salaries and wages. So where do you cut back from there? A performance budget goes beyond traditional fund allocation by assessing how effectively each expenditure contributes to organizational goals. Woolridge in 2001 emphasized this approach evaluates financial resources based on their impact and not just cost. So some key elements are it links spending to results. Funds are allocated based on measurable performance outcomes like athlete development tracked through strength, speed, or skill improvements. Their impact assessment evaluates both tangible, which are win-loss records and stats, and the qualitative, the morale, cohesion outcomes of the team. And informed decision making. So past expenditures guide future spending to maximize effectiveness. And accountability and transparency. It requires justification of allocations with measurable results, improving trust with stakeholders. And it provides a feedback loop. So adjustments are made based on data-driven insights, increased funding for nutrition if it improves recovery and performance. To apply that in sport organizations, performance budgeting in sports involves assessing investments in areas like training, coaching, equipment, and travel. And resources are directed toward high-impact activities, ensuring athletes receive optimal support while maintaining cost efficiency. This is an example of a performance budget. You can see this is Parks and Recreation, and they have the 2018 budget, and then they've got their outcome statement, and then their departmental and outcome goals for 2016, 2017, and 2018. And then they have their division performance goals and the cost associated with that, but also the qualitative information with it. And then their line item budgets per department. A program budget is a type of budget that allocates resources to specific programs or initiatives within an organization, focusing on achieving predefined goals or outcomes rather than just categorizing costs by line items or functions. It goes beyond traditional budgeting by prioritizing the overall goals or objectives of the program and evaluating costs in terms of their effectiveness in achieving those goals. Some key features of the program budget are that it is structured around the objectives or outcomes of the program rather than simply categorizing expenses, your salaries, equipment, travel to each line item. It is evaluated based on its contribution to the program success. It is a program budget that aims to ensure that resources are allocated are spent efficiently to achieve the desired results. It includes an assessment of the cost effectiveness of different components within the program. And program budgets often incorporate both the financial and the operational aspects. This means that the budget looks not only at the cost, but also considers the necessary activities, the personnel and resources required to meet the program objectives. And similar to performance budget, a program budget includes a focus on evaluating the success of the program based on performance metrics. It allows for adjustments to be made in future budgets to improve efficiency and outcomes. While a line item budget may be more short-term and operational, a program budget tends to focus on the long-term impacts and success of a program or initiative. It's designed to ensure sustainability and growth. And the budget allocates funds to the various elements of the program, such as personnel, materials, technology, facilities, based on the specific needs and goals of the program. For example, in a sport development program, a program budget might allocate funds for coaching, athlete development, competition, entry fees, travel, and performance analysis tools. And this is an example of a program budget. It's looking at the tennis center cost primarily. And so you can see with that the facility itself, you can see its fixed cost and variable costs. I don't necessarily have the revenue here but for the tennis center, but this is along the lines of what we're looking at. A zero-based budget starts each budget cycle from zero, requiring all expenses to be justified for the new period, rather than relying on past budgets. So really it's about needs-based allocation, and your resources are distributed based on current priorities and necessity and not historical spending. So again, it ensures funds are directed to essential and high priority areas, and it encourages a critical evaluation of expenditures, reducing waste. Now, it does require significant time and effort to assess and justify all costs. And the detailed analysis of every expenditure can be challenging, especially for large organizations. So a sports team using ZBB would need to justify every expense, such as travel costs, training equipment, and facility maintenance based on current goals rather than on previous spending patterns. The Planning, Programming, Budgeting Evaluation System, or PPBES, integrates long-term planning, budgeting, and evaluation to align financial decisions with organizational goals. It ensures resources are allocated effectively based on strategic priorities and program effectiveness. So some key features are it emphasizes long-term objectives rather than just short-term financial adjustments, and the focus on program evaluation, so regularly assessing the effectiveness of programs to ensure optimal resource use. A sports facility using PPBES might assess the effectiveness of a youth development program by tracking performance metrics and financial sustainability and community impact before allocating future funding. The capital expenditure, or CapEx budget, focuses on long-term investments in physical assets such as facilities, equipment, and infrastructure. It ensures that financial resources are allocated efficiently for major capital projects. And so it evaluates the financial impact of a large-scale investments over time. And you can see here, this is an example of completed projects, of facility, and of course, in a university, you have to have regent approval. You can see the budget and then the pledged gifts associated with that, and projects in process. Cash flow budgeting is a financial plan that monitors expected cash inflow and outflow to maintain liquidity. Its key focus is on short-term cash flow management and to focus on maintaining adequate cash balances for operational needs. It helps prevent those cash shortages and surpluses, and it offers a clear snapshot of financial liquidity. Some disadvantages are it's limited to cash-based transactions and excludes non-cash assets. It does require frequent updates to reflect real-time financial changes. So once the budget has been completed, it should be in alignment with the strategic plan. And so this strategic plan and budget is a dynamic document and is regularly reviewed and updated for impact. It has clear, accessible language and that ensures stakeholder engagement. For instance, a community sports facility may hold annual focus groups for continuous input. And then identify target audiences. Who are the internal stakeholders? Your management, employees, athletes, and focus on efficiency and role clarity. Your external stakeholders are your fans, the media, sponsors, and government, and emphasize economic, social, and environmental benefits. And the community and public organizations, so highlight accessibility, job creation, and public health impacts. And then think about the communication channels. How do you want this information distributed? And so you're going to go, are you going to go digital on the website, social media, and newsletters, or traditional, more press releases, TV or radio interviews? And then internal, staff meetings, newsletters, town halls, and engagement events, public forums, or workshops. Much of it depends upon whether you're in public recreation or in a for-profit organization. And then monitor and feedback. So surveys and feedback forms for stakeholders and performance dashboards tracking sustainability and economic impact. Regular stakeholder meetings for evaluation, especially in the nonprofit organization. crisis communication would be transparency on issues like funding or environmental concerns. And you really want to make sure that your messaging is consistent across all communications, and make sure in the instance of a crisis that there is rapid response for press releases and social media. Once the budget has been created in alignment with the strategic plan, based upon all the considerations, planners can then communicate and openly discuss with employees, community members, government officials in order to gain their support and make any changes that would increase the success of the facility. It does require a multi-channel, transparent approach to help sport facility managers execute and refine their strategies efficiently. And that is all that I have for you today. We'll be transitioning over into chapter 5 this next week. I look forward to talking with you then. Have a great day.